Australia's quality of education is declining. Let's have a look. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Heiser Says. Today I'd like to talk about a report that came out of Unicef a couple of years ago. Well, let's see, 1 school year and 2 terms ago. About the quality of Australian education, that we rank 39 out of 41 countries. Nearly at the bottom. So Australia has been ranked 39 out of 41 high and middle income countries in achieving quality education in the latest international report to find that the country is falling behind in basic measures of teaching and learning. Only Romania and Turkey were ranked below Australian education in the latest United Nations Children's Fund report card. Now, I recently did an interview with my daughter's principal at this and said school we're doing, where he's setting up a kind of school to capture all the students that are just falling through the cracks, that aren't really getting taught by the schools, and functional illiterates at 11. And it's well known, and you can demonstrate the high rate of illiteracy among the criminal population. One could argue that being illiterate makes it difficult to integrate in society and increases the chance of criminality. You can demonstrate that. So, the report looks at the performance of 15-year-olds in reading, maths, and science, as well as the quality and level of access to early schooling in 41 European and OECD countries. The report found that only 71.7% of Australian 15-year-olds, so that means 30% nearly aren't, are achieving baseline standards in the 3 key areas of education based on the PISA assessment, with only 80.3% of children attending organised preschool learning for at least a year, according to 2014 figures. By comparison, 81% of Finnish 15-year-olds are achieving the minimum standard, and 99.8% of children are attending organised early schooling in Finland. Wow. They always go back to the Scandinavian countries, but it's a different scale of nation, a different population, a different culture, different tax rates. They don't have the remote communities that we have here. That is just, you have to struggle to service. And then just the temperature as well, getting to school, that affects everything. It all feeds in. So UNICEF's Australian Director of Policy, Amy Lamoni, said the latest report provides a fuller picture of the country's declining performance. Education is a strong predictor of life outcomes, and we're seeing a fairly concerning trajectory. Well, yes, I agree. There's certainly a decline in real terms in the education space in Australia, partly because we have yet to see education reform that goes beyond the funding model debates. And I'd argue that's really all teachers are capable of. You have to understand a lot of these people aren't business people. They don't know how to work, they're not entrepreneurs. And if you are an entrepreneur in the teaching space in Australia, guaranteed you'd be pushed out because you'll be a troublemaker. It's a bureaucracy in there. At the same time, other countries are making great gains in testing different things in their education system. Well, so have we, and it's been failed. We're spending millions and millions of dollars on safe schools. Millions of dollars, government money thrown at these things. For what? Perceived bullying of a tiny percent of the population, when we've had programs in place for years to try and address bullying. Really? And they incorporate it into the whole curriculum. Now you've got teachers wasting money going to nappy consent training and rubbish like this. It's just a waste of resources. And they wonder why. We're missing the basics. I mean, isn't this obvious? Is it just me, or isn't this obvious? The more garbage you put into the curriculum, the less time the teachers are going to have to focus on the basics. It's that simple. This isn't science. Well, no, it is, but it's not rocket science, not at this level. She pointed to Scandinavian countries with successful examples. Yep, everyone does. Inclusive education is really a big part of policy in Scandinavian countries, which see students as citizens who are making strong decisions in their education. Well, it's kind of moot. If you've got troublemakers or students that have issues at home, they won't be inclusive. If there's other disruptors in their life, if they, can't even get to school, there's a lot of experimentation and discovery in their learning and shorter school days with more focus on extracurricular activities. extracurricular activities cost a lot of money. As a parent, you'll start to learn that. And a lot of people, they just dump their kids at school. It's just a glorified daycare, and they sadly, they expect the school to do everything, which isn't going to happen. I think you need to, change the whole perspective. Some people would question that approach, but we follow a very set curriculum with outcomes show that our 15-year-olds are falling behind. I would argue there's no opportunity for innovation. You can't have innovative teachers with this set curriculum. A spokesman for the New South Wales Department of Education said it has a relentless focus on improving student achievement in literacy, numeracy across all key areas. Of course it does. Of course it does. Just throw more money at it. That'll make it work. The department's literacy and numeracy advisors provide professional learning resources and online support for teachers and leaders across the state to support teaching, learning, and assessment of students. How about the most disadvantaged people in the community? If you're receiving government support, or a single mother, or a single parent, you get a bonus if you can prove that you've read to your children so many nights per year. Maybe $100, $200, something like that. Incentivize that. Or try and use our draconian, bloody huge state tax system that's controlling our little lives to encourage people to read to their kids. You'll have better outcomes. But then again, probably they'll think too much freely. You just start reading Ayn Rand to them, or anything, basic economics that might save us from the socialist dystopia that we're heading towards. She said the quality of early education was also an important part of children's development that is often overlooked. In terms of a child's life, access and quality education in early years sets the track for how they will engage with school over the next 10 to 15 years, she said. Each of the highest ranking countries has organized preschool participation rates of nearly 100%. Yeah, because over there, if you don't put your child in preschool, they'll take them off you. About 99.9% of children attend at least 1 year of preschool learning in Malta, which was ranked second for quality of education. What's the population size? What's the population size? What, is it a... They're comparing us to these countries which we can't be compared to. Does Malta have a remote indigenous community or huge income disparities where you've got non-professional parents living in the middle of nowhere? It's going to be hard to lift up the literacy and numeracy of children like that, even if they don't want to attend school, if it's too bloody hot, or they can't get there, or there's domestic violence. There's all these issues. It's not just as simple as throwing more money at preschool. But she won't talk about that. She can't. Only 4 countries have preschool participation rates below 90%, and only Turkey, where 72.7% of children attended early education, score below Australia. The report notes both the quantity and quality of organized preschool services for children from age 3 vary substantially across countries. Yeah, so it varies. I'm concerned that Labor's pushing for this, and all it's going to do is take children out of your care faster and trick you into working. That's it. Mothers are going to miss the best years of their life with their kids. It's just that simple. New South Wales Education Department spokesman said that more than 95% of children in the state attended an early childhood education program, but did not specify what proportion of programs provided organized preschool learning. I remember just the kindergarten, the stuff they taught. It really grated at me. It was all greeny BS, and everything is about Africa now. So I'm teaching Mina about medieval history. I'm having her play Crusader Kings 2 with me. I'm doing all the things that aren't violent. Picking flowers and hunting, and explaining things to her, just so she gets some European history. The overall report card assesses the status of children in high-income countries against the UN Global Sustainability Development Goals across 9 areas. Australia's an overall rank of 21 out of 41 countries, but perform below average in education and eliminating hunger. Wow. The report found that 16% of Australian children below the age of 15 lacked secure access to sufficient, safe, and nutritious food. Maybe it's all those vegan kids. Oh boy, you do a video on vegan, damn, they dogpile on you. I guess that's all the energy they have is to type on the keyboards. At the other end of the spectrum, Australia is ranked 3rd in making its cities inclusive, sustainable, coming behind Ireland and Norway. It ranked at 12th in eliminating poverty and has average rankings in the remaining areas of good health and well-being, decent work and economic growth. That's going to disappear. Reduced inequalities, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institutions. That's going to disappear too. Oh, sorry, that one. It's already disappearing. It depends on where you live in Melbourne. Countries in the order of their rank. Okay, I'm not going to go through that, but let's have a look at the table here. And you can see these are the countries, poverty, and this is the one we're going to look at, quality of education. Where is Australia? Down here. Down here, and we're 30. Oh, let's pick a color that doesn't work with the bloody background flooring. Good on you. There's Australia. There we are, number 39. We're above average in number of poverty. We're below average in hunger, which I'd like to look at a bit more. I think that has to do a lot with our remote communities. It would have to, with malnutrition. So let's have a look here. Now this is from the website Education Matters, and they have a good take on this. So they're discussing Australia's been ranked 49. We'll just go down here to, based on the results presented in report card 14, Unicef calls for Australian government to take action on 5 areas. Putting children at the heart of equality and sustainability programs, improving the well-being of all children today is essential in achieving both equity and sustainability, leaving no children behind. I hate those terms, because that means if you can't get held behind, you're just going to fall through the cracks. Improving the collection of comparable data, particularly on violence against children, early childhood development, migration, and gender. So this is, we've got a lot of domestic violence problems in particular communities that are never discussed about. 60 Minutes has done some videos about them. Using the rankings to help tailor policy responses to national context, and honoring the commitment to global sustainable development. I don't know what the hell that has to do with the education. So these are the findings they have, which doesn't really address some of the things that they talked about in here. And one of the issues is that single mothers, single parents are the highest rate of risk of inequality in education. Remote communities, Aboriginal communities, much greater, huge disparities in education. That's why Australia is having all these issues, because you're having a large divide in the quality of outcomes for different groups. This generally wouldn't be for normal inner city kids. It's for all the others. Now, how are we doing now? This is from the latest report. This is kind of a little bit different, but this is ranking for inequality across the 3 stages of education, but essentially due to income disparity. And this is from 2018, and we're still ranked at 30. 36 in preschool, primary school 25, and 30 in secondary school. So there is still a level of inequality, and I would argue that naturally you can derive from that the quality of education outcomes for the students. So guys, what do you think the solution is to this? How is this going to get better? Do you think our advocates and teachers, Labor's policy of just throwing more money at preschools and early childhood education is going to make any difference? I guarantee you it won't. I guarantee you it won't. I think encouraging people to read to their children is probably going to have more of an impact. Looking at online resources that can empower people to educate themselves might have more of an impact. I'm not sure how it's going to happen. I mean, we've lost all confidence in traditional education systems. That's why we're doing a distance ed program, and we're developing our own curriculum essentially as we go. We've got a lot of freedom, a lot of innovation, but it requires a time commitment. But it's very rewarding. But not everyone has the privilege to be able to do that. So I'm worried about this. I want to keep track of it and just keep talking about it and getting ideas out there, because it is going to have ongoing consequences. If economic times start to wobble a bit, if Shorten gets in and we start to get another recession Australia had to have, then this is just going to get worse. And what happens when you have a lot of unemployed people who aren't educated? You tell me. So guys, thank you for joining me for this episode today. Sorry my voice is a bit croaky, a bit rough for weather this morning. Nothing too exciting. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.